Special orders meeting to order. Everyone has been checked in by the clerk. So the next thing on the agenda, if you'll remove your hats and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Supervisor Powers.
Good and gracious Creator, we remember all the law enforcement agencies in our cities, towns, and villages. Most especially, we offer our gratitude to the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department and all the men and women who work to protect us and to care for those incarcerated. Keep them humane and compassionate, save them from becoming brutal or callous, but of all, keep them all safe from harm in the exercise of their duties. Amen.
Communications from County Clerk.
Good evening, everyone. On your desks tonight, there was 3 pieces of paper. The first one is for the county board tour that will be held on May 20th. If you can respond to us, if you're going to be able to attend, then we will be eating right at Parkview this year, so we need to let them know, how many people will be attending. The second one was a list of all of the Memorial Day parades in Winnebago County. And then the third one is a list of all the supervisors that it should be information that you allowed us to put on the website or in the directory. But this will be a list for you at home that if you need to contact any of the other supervisors, you can. And I believe that's it.
Make sure when you read that this year the tour is going to be starting out at the Coughlin Center, not at the airport like it has in the past. Anyone else on committees, commissions, or boards wishing to speak? Anyone else?
I can't get this slide up. Light up?
Yep, you're good.
Yes, my only comment about the tour, the first year that I took a tour was in 2016, and we did go someplace, I think in Winnebago, that was a private business that had borrowed money from the county, and then what they had done with it, they had paid back that loan, then they borrowed more money, then they paid back that loan, and how many things they had increased. I found that very informative, but we've never done that again. Is that the only business that we've loaned money to that we could have a chance to tour? I'm just asking, because some of the things that are on the tour this year are ones we've already toured a number of times.
I can't say that was the only one. There could be some other ones. That was IDB money. And being that there was a request to go on a second tour this year, if we can find another one that is good, maybe we can go to that on the second tour.
That would just be my request. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone else. Supervisor Gabbert for the adoption of this evening's agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Carried. Public comments. Anyone in the back wishing to speak to the board on anything that's on the agenda tonight or anything having to do with Winnebago County may do so. You'll have 2 minutes to state what you'd like to say. So at this time, come forward, state your name and address. Not seeing any of them that will want to talk right now. Anyone on Zoom?
The public's dressed alike today.
No, none on Zoom. So at this time, I'll go to the county executive's report. And most of you have probably seen him, so what we're going to do when he gets talking, here, I'll let him talk first and I'll tell him how we'll approve him then. Okay.
Julie's getting it. There we go, Julie. All right, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. As far as my appointments, what I like to do is usually wait for committee and committees to see where it is, and then try to balance it out. Make sure nobody gets more than 4, and try to spread the load out the best I can. Just as a point of notation here, there are a couple appointments here that will be expiring in 1 month or a little bit over 1 month. That is correct. They are filling roles for people that are no longer on the board, and then we'll reappoint them again in another month or when that. So that is not a typo. And then, Mr. Chairman, how would you like me to proceed on my appointments?
I'd like to have you go right down in order, and we'll do it by each thing, like we'll start with AdvoCap. Go ahead and read your names, and then they can approve them, and then go to your next one that way, rather than trying to do it all at once.
All right, so appoint by board.
Please.
Okay. All right, up first, I'd like to appoint the AdvoCap Board of Directors. I am appointing Supervisor Gilbertson, Powers, and Lutz for a term ending concurrent with their County Board Supervisor term.
Move to approve.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, for the Affirmative Action Committee, I'm reappointing David Albrecht of Oshkosh, Joaquin Lira of the Department of Human Services, Linda Mingus of Oshkosh, Rich Youngquist of Fox Crossing, and I'm appointing Supervisor Rich Dowling. All terms expire on the 3rd Tuesday in 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried.
Okay. Aging and Disability Resource Center Commission, I'm appointing Supervisor Lux and Hanson to a term expiring on August 31st of 2025.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All right, for Board of Health, I'm appointing Supervisors Harrison, Belleville, Stafford, and Schellinger to a term expiring July 1st of 2024. That's the one I was talking about. I'm also appointing Nurse Kay Haran of Neenah and Dr. Denise Prane of Oshkosh to a term expiring July 1st of 2024.
Move to approve.
Second. All those in favor signify.
Request to speak?
Okay.
My microphone's already turned on. Well, I don't think that supervisors have to be yes men for every director. There is room for negotiation and for disagreement. But I would hope that the people who are being put on the Board of Health have not spent all of COVID criticizing the Board of Health, criticizing the director, criticizing his education, criticizing his science, and will be able to work with him collaboratively. And if they think they cannot, I think they should not be put on. Thank you.
All those in favor of those appointments signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
With one nay.
Okay. East Central Regional Planning Commission, I'm appointing Chairman Robert Schmeichel of the town of Neenah to a term expiring April 30th of 2026.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
Okay. East Central Wisconsin Counties Railroad Consortium, I'm reappointing Supervisor Nussbaum and Miller to terms concurrent with their county board supervisor term.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Did I hear one nay? No, I just. Okay. Passed unanimously. Just wanted to hear what it sounded like, huh? All right, next.
All right, for the Human Services Board, I'm appointing Supervisor Belleville to a term expiring December 31st of 2024. Supervisor Schellinger to a term expiring December 31st of 2025. And Supervisor Stafford to a term expiring December 31st of 2026.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
All All right, for the Industrial Development Board, I'm appointing Supervisor Frisetto, Gustafson, and Ranky to terms concurrent with their County Board Supervisor term. I'm appointing Sam Schrader of the City of Menasha Community Development Director, Logan Fuller, the Village of Winnie County Administrator, Colin Tremmel, Oshkosh Chamber Economic Development Director, in terms expiring on the third Tuesday of April 2026.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
Supervisor Ranky, is that, all right, just want to make sure I got that right. All right, Solid Waste Management Board, I'm appointing Supervisor Frisetto to a term expiring the third Tuesday of April in 2026. Supervisor Patterson to a term expiring the third Tuesday in April 2027. And Monica Dubert of the City of Neenah to a term expiring on the third Tuesday in April of 27.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
Thank you very much.
University of
One more. Oh, hey, flip it over. There we go. All right, University, Walt, I'm sorry. All right, University of Oshkosh, Fox Cities Campus Trustees. I'm appointing Supervisor Albrecht, right? And Supervisor Swan as the trustees and Supervisor Binder as the alternate to a term concurrent with their County Board Supervisor term.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Carried.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Mr. Executive, can you hold on just one moment, please? Mr. Chairman, the affirmative action committee, are those terms supposed to expire on the third Tuesday in 2027, as in January of 2027? Or is there supposed to be a month?
April.
It doesn't say April on here, so.
It's in the county code, so we're good.
Just making sure.
Yep,
I don't want.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right.
Okay. This evening, everyone is here, I believe, I believe there one might be running late, but otherwise I know of no one that's not here, so all board members are in attendance. So that's all that I have to report at this minute anyways. So we'll go right into the business section, and I'm going to bring this up because there was a motion made, second and passed by the board, and I clarified it today, that all, whether they're vendors or if they're the head of departments or whatever, they have 20 minutes to speak on their topic, and then afterwards they have questions to be taken 2 minutes. They get asked, included on that, and also answered within 2 minutes. If they go over, we can give it 4 minutes. But that's the way the motion was read, stated, and approved when we did this. So I just want to let everyone know the sheriff has 2 tonight, so he's lucky he gets to have 2 of them tonight. So Sheriff Motz, you are, yes. Frankie. They'll find you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's me.
We could use your,
Do you want to just shout over my lap?
do you mind?
I don't.
What's that?
So my question is, I believe we talked about asking for extensions if we are interested in that and making a motion to extend someone's time. Is that,
That has to be passed then by the board in order to have that done.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes. All right, Sheriff Motz.
All right, hit the stopwatch. I'll talk fast. First of all, the people you see standing right here are all salaried employees, so we're not breaking the bank by any way, shape, or form. They can work as much as they want, and it costs us the same amount. They get phone calls at night, they get phone calls in the morning, on the weekend. They work whenever needed, so don't worry about overtime. We do have a K-9 handler here, Deputy Wilson. You'll meet him in a little bit, and his K-9. He has adjusted his hours, so it's not costing us any money there as well, or any additional money. All right, so we'll start off with our building. This was we moved in 2003. Very lucky to get this building when we did. The cost of building has just skyrocketed. I have fellow sheriffs that are trying to build. This building would probably, instead of being 33 million, I would guess it to be somewhere around 100 million in today's market. My position, I am a constitutional position. The sheriff's position is constitutional, meaning that it has a lot of independent authority. I answer to the constituents, I answer to the taxpayers. You all, we work together to come up with a budget so we can meet the needs to our community and serving them, but the position itself has a lot of independent authority. General election is a 4-year term. We considered the chief law enforcement officer of the county, meaning that the police chiefs, although there isn't any formal authority, we work together on a regular basis to make sure we're providing consistently good law enforcement throughout all of our communities. There are certain duties that we have that I have to attend to the courts, operate a jail, provide law enforcement services to the unincorporated areas, and assist other agencies. Our mission statement, we actually tweaked this about 13 years ago when we were Wiley Egg accredited. You may hear something about that. We were the second county within the state to be accredited agency, a law enforcement agency. There were municipalities that had done it. We were the second one, with Walworth County being the first one. So that does allow our corporate counsel to better represent us should we be sued. It gives us, it forces us to actually go back and review all of our policies, procedures. We found things from the 70s that were really inappropriate that we were still technically using as a basis for law enforcement. So thankful we did that, and we continue to do that. The organization, so it starts off with the sheriff, the chief deputy Todd Christofferson. He has been the chief deputy since basically since I became sheriff. We have been the Batman and Robin, I'm not sure who's who, but for about the last 14 years. And then in the communications division, Captain Lara Vendola. You will hear from all of these. In our jail is Captain Dave Mack, Greg Cianciolo. Captain Cianciolo is with our support services division, and patrol, our field services division, which is patrol and detectives, Captain Todd Christie. We made a significant change to our table of organization last year, and it really, what drove it was the amount of vacancies we had within our agency, and how many people we were turning over on a consistent basis. And it was true throughout law enforcement, it's true throughout industry as a whole. People don't stay. So we really put a major focus on recruiting and retention, and Greg will talk about that. And I'll start off with Captain Christie.
Next slide, please.
As the sheriff has stated, we restructured, basically took 2 independent divisions, put them together, and created 1 division. Now we call them units. Within the field services division, we have the patrol unit, investigative unit, our courthouse unit. We have a civilian evidence coordinator, and then underneath of that, Wiley Egg accreditation that the sheriff spoke of. Our professional standards lieutenant, who oversees that entire process, works within the patrol unit. And then in the investigative unit, we'll have a slide that will discuss about the increase in that unit last year in the budget, the 2020 this year's budget, I'm sorry, 2024 budget that was passed in 2023. 2 positions were added, and at that time, those 2 positions in the detective unit allowed us to create what we call our special victims unit. There'll be a slide that discusses some of the details of that, and then we continue to have our general investigations major crime unit. The patrol unit, within the patrol unit, we have 9 lieutenants. They work 12-hour shifts. There are administrative oversight when we're not in the buildings, because obviously they work the night PM shifts as well as day shifts. We have 36 deputy slots to the patrol division. We are the primary law enforcement and traffic enforcement in the rural counties, or the rural areas of Winnebago County. As the sheriff spoke of, we are widely accredited. You'll see that sticker on the side of our vehicles. 2024 is actually an accreditation year this year, so in December, we will be going through the process of reaccreditation. This, when we get it, will be the 4th time, so we've had it 3 previous times already, and the sheriff touched on that. They will go through our policies, procedures, they will review our reports, they will review our evidence process to make sure that we're following all our policies and procedures. Canine units, we actually have 5 canine teams now. 3 of them are 100% patrol-based as far as your normal, what you historically have known of, canine units that are involved in tracking, narcotics detection, apprehension of suspects. And most recently, well, actually not most recently, but we also picked up an explosive dog now that is involved with the patrol division, explosive detection. And then, as the sheriff spoke of, Gracie in the back of the room that you'll hear more about was most recently added as a therapy dog for both inmates that are incarcerated and other positions and areas within our community. Statistical data regarding the patrol division, calls for service, 51,167 calls for service in 2023. Crashes, 1,089 crashes, out of those 178 injuries related. 8 fatal crashes, 2,750 traffic citations, and our OWIRS, we're at 131. OWIRS, as you've probably all heard of, is now very drug-related, whether it's violation of prescription drugs, overuse of prescription drugs, or narcotic drugs. We still have arrests in the alcohol arena, but mainly now we're seeing a huge influx of drugged driving. Courthouse unit. These people fulfill the screening center responsibilities here within this building. We have 1 lieutenant, 3 deputies. The sheriff statutorily is in charge of providing security for the courthouse and the functions of the court. Some statistical data. They did 1,418 screenings last year, just on a daily basis, in and out, egress through the building. Security requests by staff within the building needing a security officer to respond to their location to handle some sort of situation. 104 of those. Now, don't get shocked by this arrest number of 182. There wasn't 182 crimes committed within the courthouse. A lot of times what happens is these officers are the first ones when somebody has to come to court and they've been giving a court date and they weren't in the custody of our jail and they were told to report to court, and at that day they plead guilty and they get sentenced immediately by the judge, and now maybe they get remanded into the sheriff's custody. Then they're the officers that take them into custody at that time, place them under arrest, contact the patrol division for transport back to the jail. So that, not 182 arrests happening in here. It's a safe place. Investigative unit, 2 lieutenants that oversee 9 detectives, and like I said, then we have a civilian evidence coordinator. They handle all our major crimes investigations, processing of crime scenes, mapping of crime scenes, cold case investigations. We are currently working several different cold case investigations with the advancements of DNA. Every day something's changing in DNA, and we have the opportunity to potentially solve crimes. CART team, there is it's called the Child Abduction Response Team. Winnebago County has a county-wide CART team. It is got members from Oshkosh Police Department, Neenah, Menasha, Fox Crossing, so basically all the agencies to include the Sheriff's Office. Many fire department personnel, emergency management's involved to kind of call out the cavalry if we would have a missing child type situation, because time is of the essence. The Sheriff's Department is kind of the lead on that. We make, with emergency management, to make sure that we get reaccredited every year as a certified CART team. which requires training, record keeping, onboarding and offboarding of personnel and such. And that's kind of run by one of the lieutenants within the Special Victims Unit that handles a lot of children investigations type of things. They're doing drug investigations. We handle overdoses, investigations, financial crimes, which is just skyrocketing. Sensitive crimes, human trafficking is another area that we're seeing a huge influx in, as well as ICAC, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children. Internet Crimes Against Children, from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, this year so far we've received 12 cyber tips of things that are going on within our county that we need to then follow up and investigate on. We've also investigated 12 sextortion cases at this point where somebody was being blackmailed with images of them on the internet, being harassed for money and items like that. And then currently in that Special Victims Unit that I talked about earlier, they have what they call Operation Lighthouse going on. If you've been on the board for some time, you may have heard of Operation Kickboxer, which was in coordination with the FBI a handful of years ago. We are now doing our own operation under Operation Lighthouse. We currently have 20 proactive cases of children that are in the process of being rescued or have been rescued, and building cases against predators that are surfing the internet and victimizing children. So those cases are ongoing. The two new positions that I spoke of, one of those positions specifically went to the MEG unit. We had, due to staffing issues, had not been able to fill that position within the Lake Winnebago area MEG unit because we had the needs of our own agency to cover at first. Once the funding came through, we immediately had that position filled in February of 2024 here. And then we also added a position, as I stated earlier, to SVU. So far, one of the things that the SVU unit has been able to do is build a relationship with Damascus Road. And Damascus Road is a volunteer group within the community that helps victims of human trafficking. They're also in connection with our jail personnel to identify usually females who are victims of human trafficking. So the SVU unit is working directly with them, and they're also really jumping headfirst into the financial crimes things. So some of the stats that I just wanted to be able to give, that what those positions have been involved in so far this year. To date, we've had 29 frauds to the tune of $250,000. Most of those frauds are cyber related. They're online types of things. They're taking advantage of the elderly. It involves a lot of cryptocurrency. So they're very complex investigations, but they've been handling that, and they're seeing trends and working through those. As far as human trafficking, between contact with jail personnel and detectives and Damascus Road, we've had 6 victims of human trafficking identified. They've been interviewed to try to find out who was trafficking them and bring those people to justice, and then we were able to refer them for resources. As far as the MEG unit goes, that position, like I said, has been filled since February. Some statistical data of why we needed that position to help combat the drug issues within the community. In 2023, we had 49 overdoses within Winnebago County. Now, that just wasn't all handled by the Sheriff's Department. Those were county-wide. So it could have happened in the city of Oshkosh, Amro, the different areas of the county. 27 of those were fentanyl related. As of right now, to today's date, we've got 8, and 3 of those are fentanyl related. And in speaking with the medical examiner's office, there's 4 additional that are pending. So there's believed to be 4 more overdoses based off of the evidence at the scene. We're waiting for toxicology reports, and 2 of those seem to be fentanyl suspected. So basically, in the first 4 months of the year, we're dealing with 12 overdoses. So based on that, I will turn this over to Captain Vandola from the Communications Division.
There's so much you could, sir. Thank you. So my name is Laura Vandola Messer. I run the Communications Division amongst some other things, and I'll have you just go ahead and skip to the next one while I figure it out. All right, so I oversee the comm center, which is the 911 PSAP here in Winnebago County. I oversee the IT function as well as the accountant. So if you have budget questions, I'm going to be that person. We'll go to the next one because that's boring. So this is the fun stuff. So the picture that was on the front cover here, as well as this picture that's right here. Last year we did a CIP project to remodel our comm center, and this is the proceeds of what that looks like. So as Sheriff Motz had said, the building opened in 2003, and that equipment that was in there was the 20-year-old equipment that was slated to last somewhere between 5 and 10 years. So we held out as long as we possibly could, but now it's all new and shiny, and it's great. So when you have your tour of our building, you'll get to see all the stuff that we did up there. So the division is comprised of a lieutenant. There's 31 dispatcher positions and the 2 IT staff that I discussed that does much more than just what is in the comm center. They are responsible for all of the technology at the sheriff's office, which is a whole gamut of stuff. And just one quick point is the sheriff's office operates the only PSAP public safety answer point in Winnebago County. So if you dial 911 from the city of Oshkosh, city of Neenah, anywhere in the Winnebago County, our staff answers those 911 calls. And then we dispatch to every single public safety entity in Winnebago County as well. So we're the only ones that do that. Except for UWOPD, they have their own little comm center that does some stuff, but we still get their 911 calls if somebody on campus were to dial 911. So this is a total number of the incidents that the comm center handled last year in 2023. So nearly 200,000 dispatches that they sent out to responding agencies in Winnebago County. 175,000 phone calls, and almost 58,000 or so 911 related phone calls and texts. We do accept texts in our comm center. It's just something that isn't everywhere. So that's something new that we brought to the comm center a few years back. And one thing that I noted was that only about 5% of the phone calls that we're getting on 911 these days are from traditional landlines, what you have attached to your house. When I say traditional, I mean a copper landline, the kind that we all grew up with, almost everybody in this room grew up with. So those are a thing of the past, right? Those do not support the technology of today, which is why we are moving with everybody else in the state to NG 911, which is kind of the next big project that is coming up for the comm center. To do that, we have a lot of upgrades, a lot of coordination with the land and records department and the GIS folks that have been coordinating a lot of data, a lot of parcels, and a lot of pieces that have to get moved around so that will all work together. And that is the end of my section.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Do you have the capability of, if we're calling 911 on our cell phone, you know what our address is, or you do not?
If you dial on your cell phone, it's going to give a pinpoint location the vast majority of the time. Now, if you have a really old phone, it won't do that.
Okay.
But any of the newer phones are going to give a GPS location. And in fact, there is legislation, there's an XY access that you have to have so we can do like latitude and longitude. And one of the federal pieces says that cell phone providers are also supposed to provide a Z access. So for taller buildings, it's supposed to be able to say, and we think they're on the 4th floor in that building. So the cell phone companies haven't quite caught up to that yet. So that's on them. The FCC regulates that, but it'll actually pinpoint you right in this building if you were to call right now.
Thank you, Karen.
All right, so I'm Greg Sanciolo. I'm the Support Services Captain. As the Sheriff said, my division has been newly created in 2023, and it is responsible for agency training, employee wellness, recruitment and hiring, and special events. The division is comprised of a training and special operations lieutenant and 2 civilian support staff. We oversee the agency wellness program. The main pillars of that program are mental health, physical well-being, and resiliency for our staff. We have an on-site EAP with a dedicated mental health professional who is in the building 8 hours per week, and then also available as needed. And we have additional resources to support staff, such as peer support, chaplains, a facility K-9, physical fitness and nutrition instructors, and financial resources. For recruitment and hiring, having some dedicated personnel for that task, we've been able to be much more proactive. We've been building on existing relationships with area colleges and universities. We've been having more frequent hiring processes, which allows us to fill vacancies more quickly and hopefully have a shorter time frame from contact with an applicant to getting them on board so they don't find another job prior to that. And we also developed a paid internship program, which may be the only one of its kind that we're aware of. In the last 3 semesters, working with local colleges and universities, We've been able to have 14 students participate in that program, and 11 of the 14 have been hired on full-time at completion of their internship. So the training and special operations lieutenant, as part of the Sports Services Division, also oversees the reserve deputies. We currently have 19 reserve deputies who are basically casual employees that supplement our staff at special events, helping with transports, hospital guard duty, and traffic direction. And then we also oversee the Citizens Academy. This is a key piece of our community outreach that allows participants to get a hands-on understanding of the Sheriff's Office and law enforcement in general. The Academy runs from August to November each year and is held on Wednesday nights. If anybody's interested in participating, please let us know. The training lieutenant provides oversight for all the ancillary instructors that we have throughout the agency. Each deputy is required to have a minimum of 24 hours per year of in-service training. In 2023, our deputies averaged 137.5 hours. We put a high priority on training because we feel that's important for risk management and mitigation, and especially in the area of use of force. Each time a deputy uses force within the agency, it is reviewed through a review process. Last year, we had 51,167 incidents, and out of those, force was used in 26 incidents. The training lieutenant also helps coordinate the SWAT alert program, which is the Aligned Law Enforcement Response Teams. There's 9 regions in the state of Wisconsin, and we are one of those regions. This allows us to have interoperability with other teams around the state. It allows us to obtain grant money for training and equipment, and also have mutual aid if we ever need it from other teams. The training lieutenant also is the coordinator of law enforcement coverage for special events such as EAA, music festivals, and the county fair. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Captain Mack.
Hello, Dave Mack. I'm the jail administrator and I'm the captain of the corrections division. So our corrections division is one of our larger divisions in the sheriff's office. We have 3 lieutenants that are assigned to it, 68 deputies, 11 booking clerks, and 8 support staff. So it's rather robust, but you can see there's a lot of responsibility that we have in our jail division. So the first is a responsibility for the Winnebago County Jail itself, the safety and security of our inmates there. That's by and large the most labor-intensive thing that we do, and we will talk more about that in a moment. But we also do things like our GPS and our work release program. Currently today we had 29 individuals that were out on GPS, one that is our Huber inmate. The difference between the two, our GPS people go wear a bracelet, they have a home address where they stay at all the time. A Huber inmate will come back and forth between work. So we have one on Huber, 29 on GPS today. We have a video court. Each one of our court branches is equipped with video court capabilities. What that allows us to do is, in instances where we'll have an inmate that either has some mental health issues or is combative with staff, it gives us the ability to have a court appearance without bringing them out of the cell, and again, reducing our deputies' opportunity to have to use force. It's a great tool for us. Additionally, in 2003, when we moved out to our location farther out on Jackson Street, it creates a long distance to have to transport inmates to and from court appearances. Obviously, there's still times when, whether it is a jury trial or another significant type of court appearance where the court will order that inmate to show up in person, and then they'll have to go ahead and do the transport themselves. In 2023 alone, we did just shy of 3,200 court appearances via the court video court. We also do transports and extraditions. Our transport division has about 9 people in it. They are responsible for things like we just had mentioned, bringing them to and from court. They also will, if an individual is arrested in another county within Wisconsin on a Winnebago County case, we'll go there, pick them up, and bring them back to the Winnebago County Jail. If somebody is arrested out of state, like last month, we just had an individual that was arrested out in California, in LA County, that we had to bring all the way back to Winnebago County on a felony warrant. We'll set up an extradition for them. When we do extraditions, that's actually, we contract with third-party individuals, and it's really a bidding process. We use about 3 different companies that do extraditions for us, and we'll contact them for each and every extradition, and they give us a quote on what they're going to charge us, and generally speaking, we go with the lowest bid where that is concerned. We also have our STAR program and programming in general within our facility. Every inmate has the right to programming when they're in our facility, and we do things anywhere from GED to SUD counseling and everything in between. Obviously, we're very excited about our STAR program, and when I'm done with my presentation here, Lieutenant Rozek, who is my most senior lieutenant in the Corrections Division, and also heads up our STAR program, she's going to talk in depth about that because we are very excited about that. So the Winnebago County Jail, it's a 355-bed facility with an operational capacity of 320. What that means is we have 355 actual beds in our jail. But in order to operate it, we try to keep that number at 320 as a max. Why that is, we do what we call objective classification. So any inmate that stays with us in our jail has to get evaluated by a individual that we employ that specializes in classification. They look at things such as the crime that the individual has been arrested on, prior crimes that they have committed, prior stays in the jail, and they assign them a security rating. So after they go through it, and it's a computerized program, they objectively look at it, they will assign them anything from a minimum security rating all the way up to a maximum and several ones in between. So we can't allow an individual that's a security threat and a high max inmate be housed with a minimum security inmate. So we need to have that flexibility to manipulate people throughout the facility to keep everybody safe. That's fine. We can keep going. So of the 355 beds that we have there, it's divided up into 6 different pods. We actually have 3 indirect supervision pods. Our indirect supervision pods are our dormitory style pods. They house between 64 and 68 individuals at a time. Therefore, our minimum security inmates. The other 3 pods are indirect supervision, which means they're like that classic one where you're envisioning bars, cells, individual. Therefore, our max security inmates. Our daily population last year in 2023 was about 222 inmates. That, for the last 2 years, has allowed us to close one of our direct supervision pods to save on staffing, and it gives us a little flexibility with our budget that way. Currently this year, however, our population is on the rise. As of May 1st, we're averaging about 233 inmates per day, so that's about an 11 inmate increase from last year. We're also seeing admissions going up. Last year, we booked in 3,146 inmates. As of May 1st, we're on pace for about 3,775. Average length of stay last year was about 15 days. That's kind of an ambiguous term, though, or number, because we have anything from a 12-hour hold that comes through our facility all the way up to somebody that could be sitting up multiple years as they await trial. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Rozek to talk about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Quick question.
Yeah.
When you have a low attendance or low population and you have to close a pod and you can reduce your staff, what happens to those staff members? Who's feeding them? Who's keeping their salaries up? What's happening to those people you have to give a furlough to?
Well, you'll have to excuse my history on this. I was at 2008 sheriff. That was the only year that we've ever had to lay off employees. And since then, we just really don't encounter that issue, because actually a lot of the reasons the sheriff and I, we had looked at it 2 years ago was we were having trouble staffing that. So we had to look at creative ways on how we could meet the demands of our jail as well as staff it. So we couldn't staff it because we were having troubles with our hiring process. So that really hasn't been an issue for us since, I think it was 2008. Is that right?
2005.
2005? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Lieutenant Rozek?
That was a lot. Give him a round of applause. between the 6 of us, it's about 180 years of law enforcement experience, and we'll all be walking out the door about the same time. It's a little scary, right? But what you're going to see is what we have to replace us, which is brilliance. So, Amber, and we have done succession planning. We have put people in positions, had them experience budgets. You will see different people come and see you throughout the year that aren't any of these individuals. We're trying to get that experience for them as we begin to ride off in the sunset. So with that, Lieutenant Amber Rozek, who will talk about our STAR program.
Thank you.
We got a question here before somebody runs away.
One quick question, I'm sorry to interrupt, but on the fentanyl issue, last year you said you had 27, I think, deaths from fentanyl, and this year it's 2 and 3, 5. Am I counting correctly?
Yeah, I think what it was 27 last year where fentanyl was part of the overdose.
Right.
And now I think we're at 3 confirmed, 2 pending that are fentanyl. What we have are polydrug uses, meaning people are dying with a mixture of drugs. So fentanyl is most often part of that mixture, but not always. Now, xylazine, which is the new one, which is not, Narcan does not work with xylazine because it's not an opioid. We're seeing that more often.
Right.
So,
Are you trending ahead of last year in terms of less deaths, or, when do you expect more in the summer? Where are you at with that?
yeah, as far as like comparing January through May, with the 2 years we didn't do that, the medical examiner would have that information. However, from my experience, we're trending up. We're trending up with overdoses and not just the deaths, just overdoses in general.
Okay.
With the amount that we're seeing.
So it's trending up, and do you see a solution for the upward trend?
In the STAR program, you're going to see
that's where the solution is.
Well, that's part of the solution. I mean, it's. I'm not trying to be political here.
No, I know.
But it's a multi-pronged approach. I think we need to secure our border. I think we need to do something about the addicts that are here, and I think we need to work as a community to fix what we have, and not only here in Winnebago County, but every other county has to do their part as well. So we can't just work independently and try to fix ours. And that's why people are looking at this STAR program, other counties, even other states are looking at the program saying, okay, that might help with the addicts that we currently have, but we need to do something to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal drugs into our country.
Would you say so it's a larger issue? It's not just dealing with it at the street level here, it's closing those borders to stop the flow, because we read articles about, fentanyl came across the border enough to kill everybody in the country today, in one shipment.
Right, yeah, exactly, and again, but it's a multi-pronged approach. We're gonna do our part. I mean, we don't control the border here.
But that's where it is,
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Lieutenant Amber Rozek, I work in the Corrections Division. I have been with the agency for 22 years now, in the jail the whole time, and I have been selected to work with the STAR program and enjoy it very, very much. So we'll let you know what it's all about. All right, so we have collaborative partners that make this program successful. We work with the Overdose Fatality Review Board, the District Attorney's Office, Public Health, the County Exec, and Solutions Recovery, which is a nonprofit here in the community. We began in September of 2022 as a MAT program, which is a medication-assisted treatment. We received a grant through the state for $150,000 to be able to purchase Vivitrol, which is an injectable drug that's given to help with opiate addiction. It blocks the receptors in the brain and doesn't allow the person to get high. We can also use that for alcohol addiction, and so we decided to start there and implement that in the jail. In the first year of the program, we gave out 55 injections, and they were given to the participants of our program. During the first year, we introduced peer support into the jail through Solutions Recovery. And it was people that were coming in who had lived experience, who were on their sobriety journey, to meet with and talk to the people that were in our facility as inmates and looking to start their own sobriety journey. The program exploded from, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt, but can you go back one slide? The bottom here where it says 46% success rate, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So in the first year, Solutions had met with 399 individual inmates throughout the time that they were there. 63 of those they were able to provide community services to upon release. And of that 63, 29 of those remained in services and in recovery to give us the 46% success rate. And that was part of the reason that we decided to put more time and effort into the program. We ended up seeing that we had an overwhelming demand for what we were providing. So through more grant funding, we were able to bring 3.5 more recovery coaches on, as well as an administrator of the program, so that we could help more of the inmates, provide them with more services, more counseling, more resources. So we continued to work with the state on our COSUP grant. We were able to get some additional funding to keep the program going. And we also worked with other entities in the county to help with the funding. So we have different program options because we want to be all-inclusive to the inmates that are in the facility. We didn't want to exclude anybody and leave anybody out. So in the program, you have the option of being in the recovery pod, which we opened those March 1st of this year, and it's a setting in the jail for like-minded people on their sobriety journey. One of the things the inmates had brought to us early in the program was it was hard for them to be in housing units with people that weren't on their sobriety journey, and to hear them talk about using and what they were going to do when they get out was very tough for them. So we opened a male recovery pod and a female recovery pod, and we have the coaches from Solutions embedded right in the facility with the DHS SED counselors to meet with them and be with them every single day. So they can choose to be in the recovery pod, do the full program requirements with or without Vivitrol. They can just meet with a peer coach if they would like to, not be housed in the recovery pod. They don't have to attend programming, but it's optional for them. They can do that with or without Vivitrol. And then they also can just do the Vivitrol if they'd like. They can meet with a coach, they don't have to. Like I said, we try to be as inclusive as we can with the program. And we want it to appeal to everybody. We want to have a level of comfort for, you know, like if they're unsure about it, why don't we try this step? And then we can always build upon that. So in the recovery pods, they have a structured day. They have structured programming, and they have requirements that they need to meet while they're doing the programming. They have to attend 4 programs a week. And there's a variety of different things that they can attend. They do have mandatory meetings that they have to do, and we put a big focus on structure and accountability. Making these guys responsible for themselves, for signing up for the programs, for attendance, keeping their spaces clean, and taking care of the areas that they live in. We did provide them with some creature comforts that we don't see in the other areas of the jail. They are offered coffee in the morning. After they sit through their speaker sessions on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, they get popcorn, they have a microwave. So access to some of the things that we don't see in the rest of the facility, because we want to encourage them and help them along their tough journeys. We get them started multiple different ways. We do ask them immediately at intake if they are interested in a pod, in a recovery coach, in Vivitrol, if they've had an overdose incident, so we can flag those inmates that are coming in for further follow-up. If they answer no to any of the questions, that's not the end-all be-all for them. They can put in request forms, they can talk to their pod officers. We have flyers everywhere in the jail for Solutions Recovery where we offer them a free phone call to their hotline. They can call at any time that they have day room and access to the phone. It's free. They can talk to the coaches there and get set up for services within the jail. So the requirements of the recovery pod, it's voluntary. They do have to apply. They go through a screening process. Like I said, they have requirements of their attendance for their programs. They're each assigned a recovery coach. So they have an individual that they meet with, that they talk to, that they do their release planning with, so they can plan what's going to happen when they get out. And then they have their weekly check-ins. They check in on Monday to see how weekends went. They check in on Friday to see how the weekend's gonna go, because the recovery staff is not there on Saturdays and Sundays. This is just an example of the schedule that they have, that is in their handbook, so they can see what their structured day is going to look like. And these are just our most recent stats. So we have served 753 inmates. They had almost 3,000 in-person contacts, 763 phone calls from the jail. They've had follow-up contacts post-release with 1,400. We also have been blessed that Solutions is able to do pickup and transport at release. So they meet them at the door and take them to where they need to go. If it's outpatient treatment, inpatient treatment, sober living, to their house to gather some things to go elsewhere, Solutions offers that service for us. We have given a total of 87 Vivitrol injections. And in the STAR Recovery Pod, we have 53 male participants in the pod, and as of today, we have 11 females. We're looking to grow and continue to collaborate with the DA's office, with public health, with DHS, with the county exec, and all the people that we have at the table, because that's what's making us successful. All right. And then part of our STAR program, we were able to get Gracie, our facility dog. So Deputy Wilson is her handler, and Gracie gets to come hang out with us at the jail and just spread joy and happiness and put a smile on people's faces, and it gives the inmates something positive to focus on. All right. Any questions?
Currently, this is only available for inmates at the county jail, is that correct?
Correct.
This seems like a terrific program that would benefit from some community outreach, and maybe some individuals in our community who aren't incarcerated would actually benefit from these services as well. Are there any plans to grow to that kind of a program?
We haven't gotten into those discussions, but because we work with Solutions and DHS, and they provide our programming, this is definitely a direction that this program could head, to have the resources available when they're not incarcerated.
Okay. And once they leave the jail, they're no longer available to continue the services there, but they do go with Solutions at that point?
They can go with
as I understand it?
Solutions, yep. They can continue. It's the same services, it's just outside of the jail walls. And Solutions then does the follow-up post-release to just make contact with everybody to see what the needs are and if they're following through on their journey.
Okay, thank you.
Someone over here had a question?
Very, very impressive. There are 72 counties in Wisconsin. How many counties are using the STAR program like you?
We are the only county that is this robust in the program.
Wow.
There are 7 other counties that also receive the same grant funding that we did, that we meet with monthly. And we all just kind of share ideas, talk about who's doing what, but we have met, the team that I work with, we have met with several other county leaders to talk about the success of our program and how they can implement it.
Very impressive also. Just 2 questions. It looked like about 10% of your inmates have gone through the program, from rough numbers from the slide. What is the potential? I mean, what percent of inmates really could benefit from the program? And the follow-on question is, are we seeing, it's probably pretty early, what percent are coming back? So we help them get over this problem. Are they less apt to come back into jail because they better integrate to society?
So we have not tracked any recidivism.
Yep.
data yet because we are going to go with the March 1st date of that being the most robust part of the program. So we're looking at about 6 months from that date is looking at the recidivism rate. And because we have all the different tiers to the program, we could do the entire inmate population, but we make it voluntary. So they have to want to have the services and be a part of it, but it has the potential for the entire facility.
Great, thank you.
I just have to say hats off to all of you, but I have to give hats off to Handler Wilson there. I don't even know if he remembers me, but he was awful small. I would have never bet that he would have been handling a dog for the sheriff's department. I remember you. Yeah, I'm sure it was all good.
Quick question. Does Gracie live with you, or are you her only handler? Okay.
Anyone else?
Thank you. I have a couple questions about the Vivitrol. Can you tell us what is like a dose of Vivitrol cost, and how long does the shot, how long is it effective?
So price per dose right now is $1,224. It lasts for 30 days, and we give them their first dose prior to leaving, and we make the appointment for the second dose post-release. We have plans to cut costs because there is an oral form of the medication that would only cost us about $22 a month, but there's a nationwide shortage, and we haven't been able to get our hands on the oral medication, but we still want to be able to offer, so we do still purchase and give the very expensive shot.
Okay. And is there is there like a number of shots a person can get? Is two, or like, is there a limit, or?
We don't limit it, but to be cost effective and to be able to offer it to more, we try to stay right around 2, because we want to get it in their system to get it built up, but then again, you know, we want to be able to sustain what we have in stock and be able to use it.
Thank you. And then I think your slide said 87 of the inmates that you served took Vivitrol,
Mm-hmm.
and there were 753 inmates in the whole program. Is that like their choice, that they're saying that their recovery journey doesn't include the Vivitrol, not a limitation on what we have available, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The only time that they would be denied the shot if there was a medical concern that our medical staff said that they shouldn't have the shot.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Supervisor O'Brien, you had your hand up, didn't you?
Supervisor Schellinger covered those things, thank you.
I just want to make a couple comments. I've ended up hiring about a half dozen people from the Solutions Program in a job that I was working last year, and I was and I've also taken a tour of the Solutions, a partial tour, and very happy to have those people, to see these people wanting to turn their lives around and get things back on track. The exuberance that they worked with was wonderful, and I just wanted to comment on how positive the Solutions facility was. It was very refreshing how positive it was being in there, and the people want to be there, and I just wanted to throw that out there because I was very impressed, so thank you.
Yeah, Solutions is definitely doing all the heavy lifting for us. They really are. We've been very fortunate to have them right in our backyard to help us with the program.
Can we have Sheriff Moss another question?
Sure. Sure.
One quick comment, two quick questions. With over 51,000 contacts with people and only 26 use of force, I think that's remarkable. If you watch the news, you think that law enforcement's shooting up people constantly, and I think that 26 is really good. That's my comment, and thank you for that. Number 2, we don't have to invite you anymore, but I'm hoping you're planning to do 4th of July for us again. Okay, and number 3, the the 131 vehicle crash in 2019, and I remember a female officer saying, "Keep calling me, I'm coming," and she was crawling over either one of those two women, that
No.
officer.
No, neither one of them.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
I just want to talk a little bit, maybe clarify. Gracie also, we have a secondary school in Winchester that kids that have emotional issues, behavioral issues, we're going to use her there once she gets her certification. She has to be at least a year old. She's only 9 months. And, all it takes is to have a dog show up, and people just tend to calm down, especially kids. And we've had some, of those 26 use of force incidents, although I don't know for sure, I know that a couple came from that school. So she would be used for that as well. The STAR program, you're going to, there'll be an agenda item coming up this month at your regular county board meeting, and we'll talk about, now you have a good understanding of the program, and it's some additional funding that has come available for us. Captain Mack will be speaking to a group of people at a conference, DHS, et cetera, those people tomorrow at the Dells, and we will be presenting at Badger Sheriff's in August. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of people interested in this program. It works, and we're going to keep running the program.
Supervisor Gabbard?
Some questions and comment. Solution recovery. All of you should have a conversation with Trevor Fenrick. He has got a program, in my terms, they're not enabling people. They have an end game. They get you started. We have someone at work that was in the jail, had the Vivitrol shots, is able to hold down a full-time job, can rent an apartment. That's what we need more of. This program is essential to Winnebago County, and kudos to the Sheriff's Department for getting involved with that. I can't say enough about that. So I'm sure you could get a tour from Trevor if you made a phone call. It's a great facility, a great program. I have a question, and I don't know if it's for Mr. Mack or if it's for you, Sheriff Motz, but the 980s are very concerning to me. I drive by them every day, 4 times a day. Are you in charge of ankle bracelets for those people, or is that the city of Oshkosh?
The state of Wisconsin handles the bracelets on the 980. That's the violent sex offenders who have served all their criminal time, then were placed on a civil commitment and then released, and they're released to the facilities, either the trailer or the tiny homes, for lack of a better way to explain it, right near the highway shop and our facility as well. But the state is the one who handles their bracelets.
And when they stay longer than the year, which we've had this happen, the state is in charge of those? You only would respond if there was an incident? Is that?
Yes, we only would respond if there's an incident. I got to tell you that since they have been so close to our facility, I can only remember one instance, and that actually involved somebody, one of the workers, not one of the 980 offenders. So we have had no issues with them.
And are the new buildings occupied yet, or not quite?
They're not occupied. I believe they look finished to me. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Facilities could answer that question, but right now there are no offenders for Winnebago County that are being released, and then we have 120 days upon notice to find them housing, and now we have that housing. So there's no more going out and notifying communities that a 980 offender is moving in. It will all
And
be.
then for you, as the sheriff, do you see the STAR program expanding to other counties, or it should expand to other counties? Based on what you have going, you're promoting
Yeah.
this is a great thing, right?
Yep, I'm confident that it will.
Okay.
I have had several sheriffs ask me for a much more in-depth PowerPoint and information, and they are looking at creating their own program with, I'm sure they have to tweak it to whatever physical layout they have in their facility. But you know, one thing about that you mentioned about the Vivitrol, if you are an opioid addict and even an alcoholic, typically alcoholics don't die a quick death from alcohol. It's a long, where opioids can be the first time you use them. The only way to guarantee that they're alive when they leave our facility is if they have that opioid shot. It isn't Narcan, it isn't any kit that's provided, it is that shot. So we know that 30 days they will not die of an opioid overdose. Could they die of a meth overdose? Yes, that can happen, but if their drug of choice is opioids, typically that's where they're going to go. And especially when they've been in our facility for 30 days, 60 days, their tolerance is different. If they shoot up with the same amount that they did right before they came in, they die. And we've had people shoot up in our right in our restroom, right in our rotunda. We've had people do it in the parking lot. So the only way to guarantee that they're alive is that Vivitrol shot. So we are really, although it's voluntary, we're trying to save their life long enough where they can make that decision on their own.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Not seeing anyone else, I thank you much, Sheriff, and your staff. Now, that did go a little bit over, but I think it was well worth it, so just remember, don't everybody call me up and say, well, that was over the time limit, because I do know that it did, so. All right, next is another interesting strategic planning update by Kristen Fabian with Tyler Technology.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Chris Fabian here. Thank you for having me in person to give you an update on the strategic plan. All right. So okay. As you may know, some of you are brand new, the county is in the midst of implementing priority-based budgeting, and a key component of priority-based budgeting is in fact the priorities that we will use to help frame the investment of your budget. So we have been underway, and many of you have participated actively, thank you very much, in the development of a strategic plan, which includes within the strategic plan the identification of what we call results and the definitions of results. So as you see behind me, we have a timeline that is launched in January. We had a survey to gauge your perspective on results that define why you are in business as a county government. We brought back the initial draft results of that survey. Some of you followed up with additional commentary, so thank you for reaching out to help refine those results and definitions. And we do have several new board members, and my point here for this slide is to make sure that you all know we will not be moving to completion with the results and definitions until June 18th. That is when we will need to use the results and definitions for program scoring in the midst of priority-based budgeting. So to the extent that you are new and would like to still be able to offer your comments and feedback on the results and definitions that have been created thus far, and also provide your new perspective, you are welcome to do that, and you can contact us through Ethan Hollenberger, and we will make sure that we have your input overall. So June 18th is the deadline when we are hoping to have finality on results and definitions, which are in your packet in current draft form, because we're going to be using them for departments to score their programs and services relative to these results, which gives us the alignment of resources to results in priority-based budgeting. The next slide in your packet outlines a little bit of explanation. When I use these words, results and result definitions, they have specific meaning in your strategic plan and in priority-based budgeting. So results, as we use the term, identify what you are in business to do. Why are you here as a county collecting resources from your community and investing those resources in programs and projects like you just heard from the Sheriff's Department in order to achieve what? The what are the results of county government. So in priority-based budgeting, when we help you to evaluate how your current budget is being spent, let alone new requests that are coming forward, you want to have a framework to evaluate, is this in alignment with what we're here to do, or does this fall outside of our scope of business? And those results will be your North Star, so to speak, to give you that evaluation framework to understand, is this aligned, or does this fall out of alignment with what you are hoping to accomplish? So results identify why you are here. The result definitions help to identify in current state how you achieve the results. So in the slides, as I'll get to in just a moment, for every result area, there are result definitions that really help to clarify, so it's not ambiguous or subjective, how those results are achieved here in Winnebago County. So we'll use an example here in just a moment. And if you're following me, there's a why, there's a how, and then there's a what. And the what of local government are the programs that you provide. So you choose to invest in programs like you just saw the Sheriff's Department outline. And you invest in projects, key projects on the capital side to achieve the how and to achieve the why. And that is what's going to help you in the midst of your budget process. But I should also say, no matter what budget process you use, if you're using a line item budgeting process, if you're doing incremental budgeting process or priority-based budgeting, the county deserves a strategic plan to have clarity on why you are in business and how you're going to go about achieving that. And I say that because the work that you have contributed to thus far for the identification of results and definitions, while it's extremely useful for priority-based budgeting, you will also find it useful as the county executive helps departments to establish goals and objectives to achieve the why of local government. It goes far beyond budgeting, but it certainly will serve us well in the priority-based budgeting process. Okay. I know we have 20 minutes and less now. So I will not be reading through every single one of these results and definitions, but I want to share with you what's in your packet. These are the current draft results and definitions. Again, this is what we're hoping to move towards affirmation by June 18th. And as you go through these results and definitions, you will see that there are 6 key result areas. In alphabetical order is how we have them in the packet, so they're not in any sort of rank order. There's no rank to the priorities. They are just the comprehensive list of why you are in business. And I can make mention of them. They are access to basic needs, community and economic development, dependable and reliable infrastructure, effective and efficient administration, environmental and water quality, and safety and security. These are the big umbrella categories, if you will, of why you are in business. And for any given result, as you will see in your packet, you can see the how, the result definitions for each and every one of the result areas as they are defined. Bless you. So for the first result area, we have access to basic needs as the key result. And over on the right-hand side of each and every one of your slides, you're going to see all the ways that are allowable in Winnebago County. If I was a department and I'm offering a program and I want you to invest in that program or service, and I tell you, this program helps us achieve access to basic needs, I need to be able to use one or more of these definitions to make a compelling case to persuade you that my program indeed has a link or an influence on this particular result. And I hope that you see that as a tool. It's a communication framework. So I hope that one way to use this is that if a department is asking for new resources in the budget process for new staff, new FTE, an increase to their operating budget or even a capital project, and you say, why should I be thinking about funding this program enhancement or this new program or this project? What outcomes, what results does this project help us to accomplish? And if the department says access to basic needs, then your next question should be, show me how. What definitions are you linking to that are persuasive so that I can feel convinced that this ask in the budget process is linked to this particular result area? That's how you do it. And we'll be continuing to provide this training to use the strategic plan results and definitions in the process as you are evaluating the budget requests that come before you. And you can use it for every single one of the results, use all of the definitions, help the departments. It's meant to be a communication breakthrough. We've heard priority-based budgeting be described as a Rosetta Stone. If you're familiar with the metaphor, the idea is it's a translation. I'm a department, I have a budget request, I'm really hoping that you fund my programs. You are the board of county supervisors, you owe results to your constituency, and you're trying to translate budget requests to the why of local government and how you're supposed to achieve them. So it's a tool for you. That's what this is all about. Question?
Thank you. My question is, so you don't have to convince me of the importance of strategic planning. I'm totally bought in. I do have questions about how you would measure access to basic needs or reliable infrastructure. And I don't know that we'll have those in time for budgeting. Is that an intention?
Great question.
To be able to measure each of these results?
So yes, and let me tell you about your first step. So the first step is we have to put words around it. What does access to basic needs mean? And how would you be persuaded that something that you're doing actually has any connection to it? So now we have taken an attempt to put scaffolding around it, words to help describe the definition of that particular result. In priority-based budgeting, for any given program or project, they will be evaluated and scored numerically in terms of degree of impact relative to everything else that you're doing. And it's a step in that direction to say, access to basic needs, how might we measure that? Well, we're going to try to measure degree of relevance. Does this program have anything to do with access to basic needs? And here's how we're going to do it. That's the connectivity in priority-based budgeting is resources, dollars to programs and projects scored quantitatively by impact towards these outcome areas, these results, as our first foray into this. As you start to evolve and mature in your use of priority-based budgeting over the years, you're going to start to ask for even more. You're going to say, well, I buy the case for relevance, I buy the case for impact, now let's measure it specifically. How are we performing? How would we know? What might some specific performance measures actually be? And that's what your journey will start to look like. That's how it looks like in other counties. Okay.
Not to be rude or anything, but if we can all just make notes and ask the questions at the end of no, that's okay, at the end of his presentation, and then, because he might be answering some of our questions as we go along, so.
We're almost wrapped up in the consideration of 20 minutes. I suggest that you have a chance to look through each and every one of these result slides and the definitions. Again, I'm just repeating the same point. You have between now and up until June 18th to try to continue to provide some feedback. And last but not least, I have one final opportunity for input into the strategic plan, the results and definitions, and that's what you see in one of your other handouts. We're going to email this to you so you have it electronically, but we wanted to give you a paper copy as well. It is okay if you fill out the paper copy, but here's the spirit of this exercise. It's not required of everybody. It's an opportunity, and I encourage you to take part. But as you start to review your results and definitions, here is a common phenomenon for participants in your shoes, elected officials, county board of supervisors, is that you might start to see these results and definitions, and while you can comprehend them and you're persuaded about the importance of strategic planning, you want sometimes to have something a little bit more tangible and specific, to your particular constituency. And this exercise allows you to take one more step in that direction, which can actually provide more DNA or your fingerprints into the strategic planning process. And the idea is for the 6 result areas that have been identified thus far, I want you to try to think through a specific project that your constituency cares about and how that project might fit into any of these particular result areas. You can add up to 5 projects for any given result area if that's what you have in mind. But it will help you to imagine how you might even relate to your constituency as they're asking you about the key result areas in your strategic plan and the role of local government in Winnebago County. I want you to start to imagine where they're coming from when they ask for a road improvement, when they ask for increased public safety or park access or recreation. How would you actually relate that to the results that you're trying to accomplish when you know something's really important to them? And the last thing that I'll say is this will give you a chance to put on paper things that are very important and that you know about from your particular constituency. So that's the exercise. There's no time limit on this, but if I've said anything tonight, I want you to keep in mind this is all going to come to conclusion for use in priority-based budgeting on June 18th. So we need to keep pressing towards that date. I'm happy to take questions, and I have one question that I have been thinking about, and I can get to that if there are no others. I'll make sure to answer it, but happy to take questions from the board.
Don't see any oops, I'm sorry.
Great, thank you, Chris. Mr. Chair, as I look at this, again, I'm looking at the role of government, as you mentioned, but also from the perspective, we're spending precious taxpayer dollars. It's not, it's not levies, it's our money, our constituents' money. And when I look at that, I think there's a metric that's missing here. When we talk about relevance, how much is mandated by state and fed versus how much is discretionary? Because mandated we really can't touch unless we change the laws in Madison or Washington. But when I look at a budget document that's this thick, it's very difficult to discern what's controllable and what's not controllable, what's fixed and what's variable.
Great question, and I will keep it within the 2 minutes in response. These are the results of government in priority-based budgeting, and this is helpful to keep reiterating as well. What you're going to see is outside of results, there are other key reasons why you provide programs that are going to be scored in priority-based budgeting. We call them basic program attributes. Degree of mandate is one of those key categories. So is this program federally mandated? Is it state mandated? Is it mandated by your own county incorporation documents, charter, code, resolution or ordinance? Is it industry standard or best practice, or is it not mandated whatsoever? So there'll be degree of mandate, there's cost recovery, there's population served, there's change in demand, and there's degree of reliance upon you as compared to other possible service providers, be it nonprofit, private sector, or other local government jurisdiction. So those are called basic program attributes, and they're another standard set of program scoring criteria in addition to the strategic plan. You got it.
All right, thanks, because I don't know how to switch back and forth, I'm new, sorry. And I'm just curious about how we got the results, because it seems to me that the purpose of county government in Winnebago County to be efficient and effective administration it seems like that's a circuitous thing. Like, it doesn't flow with the other things of making sure that our constituents are getting access to basic needs, continued economic development. Efficient and effective administration seems like we expect to have that, not that that's a benefit of Winnebago County.
Astute observation. Let me address it. There's a differential in priority-based budgeting between programs and services offered directly to the community that benefit the community directly, like you're picking up on, as opposed to what we call internal governance programs, and we need specific criteria to measure those internal programs that aren't delivered directly to the residents, but are delivered internally to the rest of the departments, coming from finance, budget, HR, procurement, legal, fleet, facilities, county exec's office, those and more, IT. Those internal programs, we want to be really clear about their purpose as well, even though ultimately, indirectly, they serve the constituents as well by helping the other departments. They will have clear definitions and specificity on their purpose by way of effective and efficient administration and the criteria therein. You got it.
AI.
Yeah, I will.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you were just talking about the criteria and the different ranking. Was that shared with us in any capacity yet up to this point? And I apologize if I missed it. If not, can you please resend it out just so we're all on the same page with what that looks like?
We'll definitely make sure to send it, again, all of the scoring criteria, basic program attributes, as well as results. And we will continue to share it, especially as we get into the budget process, because you're going to see every program you offer and every way that it's scored against all the criteria.
Yeah, especially going into this session now, I think people are going to be a little bit more focused on that now. So thank you.
You got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've said this a few times that I'm very skeptical about this priorities-based thing. I mean, it's not like we have a department of fish fries and birthday parties. You know, every department that we have serves an important function in the county, and answering a survey of what we think might be the most important to have the greatest priority is very subjective, because maybe you say, well, I don't really care about highway, or I don't travel that much, so I don't care if there's potholes, or there's something important about every single one of our departments. I don't understand how we can take a survey and come up with a priority, because then what? Are we axing the one that falls at the bottom of people's opinions? Because that's really what the priority is when we take the survey. It's an opinion. So what happens to the low-ranking one?
Low-ranking programs come back to you for discussion about the appropriateness of using county taxpayer resources to fund those programs, and are there other partnerships that you could create? Are there efficiencies? Are there ways to fund the programs in a different way? And ultimately, service level changes and reductions could be on the table as well. It's not the only possible conclusion, but local governments operate with scarce resources. And for all of the needs that your constituents have, there are often, at least in the experience of priority-based budgeting practitioners, never enough resources to fund all of the needs. And therefore, we need a mechanism to be able to differentiate and find out, at the end of the day, if we don't have enough resources, how might we still provide the benefit of a program to the residents, even if it's not from the county? Could it be through a partnership with a nonprofit? Could we split the costs? Could we find an efficiency, like we just heard about with particular drugs that are available? What are our options? And that's what we have to strive for.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know we had one other question about the use of AI in the budget process. We'll have a lot to say about that, but I'll give you a few things to think about. We all just experienced this fantastic presentation from your sheriff, and many of you asked questions about, for example, who else provides the STAR program? And that is a perfect example of a question that nowadays we can turn to tools like ChatGPT, among others, to do common research to say, we just learned about a STAR program in Winnebago County. Can you provide me 3 other examples within county government, within the United States, about who provides a program like this? What are the costs? Where might I turn to find more research about it? This is the opportunity that is presented from AI. You can ask questions about, to the previous question, if we have a low-ranking program, what are our options? Do we have to cut a program, or can you give me some examples of how local governments have been able to spin off a program, how they've been able to generate new revenue? For every budget question that's going to come before you this budget period, you consider using AI as if it were a reference assistant for research. That will be something that we also encourage the use of in evaluating every single program that comes from the program inventory, to think through, how can we make this program more efficient? Are there new revenue options? Can you give me 3 examples of another local government who has privatized this, who has looked for a nonprofit partner or the public sector. It's a research, it's more than far more than a research assistant, but that will be at least one tactic to use AI towards your benefit in the budget process.
Not seeing any other questions, I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for using your time wisely. Really do appreciate that, so.
Thank you all very much. Look forward to being back.
Not seeing anything else on the board, I'll call on Supervisor Gabbett for this evening's adjournment. Motion made, second adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned.